All right, welcome everyone here in person and at home as well. Thank you for joining us on Pi Day.
Use that mic.
I am Eve Mandel. I'm the Director of Programs and Outreach at the Historical Society of Princeton. And it is my pleasure to be partnering here today with Nora and Janie from the Princeton Public Library to bring you this incredible program in honor of Princeton Pi Day. We are thrilled to host author Dan Gutman as part of the festivities. Dan will take questions at the end of his talk. So if you are watching at home, please feel free anytime to put your question in the Q&A box, and Janie will ask them at the end. And if you stay to the end, we're also going to be raffling off 4 copies of Dan's book, latest book about Albert Einstein. 2 of those for people here today and 2 for those at home. So it's fair to everybody. And without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Dan Gutman to you. He is the New York Times bestselling author of the Genius Files series, the Baseball Card Adventure series, and the My Weird School series. In the second of Dan's biological series, or biography series, Wait, What?, he focused on Princeton's own Albert Einstein, who we are celebrating today. In 2021, I had the honor and the pleasure of hosting Dan on a little tour of some of Einstein's places here in Princeton, including our exhibit at the Historical Society. So that was such a fun time. It's 2 years ago now. So we are so happy, Dan, to have you back virtually here in Princeton to share your experience writing this book and some of the fun facts that you've learned about Albert Einstein. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Eve. Hey, everybody. If you can hear me and see me, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I hope you're thumbing up, right? Okay, it's good to see you. I wish I could be with you in person. That would be cool. But, you know, I think this is the next best thing. And before we get started, did you guys hear about the giant banana that's threatening Princeton? You didn't hear about it? It's all over the news. Oh yeah, it was spotted in Hopewell and Lawrence Township and Trenton, and oh no, it's in New York City too. It's the giant banana. Help! Run for your lives. Help! It's attacking me. Help! It's coming up Nassau Street. Help! It's at the library. All right, relax. Okay, it's just a banana. But seriously, you guys, got a lot to say and a short amount of time to say it. So what I want to say is, happy Pi Day to everyone, and happy upcoming birthday to Albert Einstein on Tuesday, right? Okay. And yeah, and you know, I got this new book out, okay? And it's, as you may know, it's called Albert Einstein Was Dope. And I know what you're thinking, okay? You're thinking like, how could you say such a mean thing? He was a genius. He was the smartest man in the world. Well, I don't mean to trash Albert Einstein on Pi Day, okay? But here's the facts, okay? The facts are, all right, his family maid called him the dopey one. He was a high school dropout. When he applied to college, he flunked the sections on literature, zoology, botany, and politics, okay? His college math teacher called him a lazy dog. He failed physics in college, and he graduated from college near the bottom of his class, and he wouldn't have graduated at all if he hadn't copied his friend's class notes. So that's why I named the book Albert Einstein Was a Dope. But actually, you know, the biggest reason why I did it is because simply it makes a great book title, okay? If I just called this book, you know, Albert Einstein Was a Genius, you think anybody would buy it? No. So that's why I called it Albert Einstein Was a Dope. So why did I write this book? I'll tell you why. I love biography. I love reading biographies. I've always loved reading biographies. Right now, I'm reading a biography of the Beatles for a book that I'm working on. So I love biographies. And I read a whole bunch of children's biographies. You know, those Who Was books with the big heads on the covers of them, you know? Well, I read a bunch of them, and, you know, I felt that they were missing something. You know, I felt that, frankly, I felt that they were boring, okay? And each of these books, all the biographies for kids, it's always like, so-and-so was born, he lived, he died, and that's the story. And, I felt like famous people are funny, and I wanted to create biographies that focus on the unusual, the weird, the funny aspects of their lives. And that's why I created this series called Wait, What? And the first book in the series is my book about Albert Einstein. So, you probably all know the usual stuff about Einstein. You know that he created the theory of relativity, even if you don't know what it is, okay? And you probably are familiar with the famous equation E equals mc squared, even though you don't know what it means. And you know that he lived a number of years in Princeton, New Jersey, of course, right? So, you know a lot about, he had crazy hair, right? But did you know that after he died, the doctor who did the autopsy on him removed his brain, okay? He put it in a cookie jar and he kept it 40 years in his office behind a picnic cooler. Did you know that? It's true. It's in the book. And my book is filled with weird stuff like that. And I'd like to share 6 little facts about Albert Einstein that you probably don't know. Okay, you ready? 6 facts about Einstein. Here we go. Fact number 1, all in my book, okay? When he was 2 years old, his sister Maja was born, and he thought that she was a toy, okay? So when he saw Maja for the first time, he asked his parents, "Where are the wheels?" It's true. I didn't make it up. It's really true. Okay, fact number 2, all right? Okay, Einstein, when he was younger, he enlisted to join the Swiss Army, okay? Yeah, from the famous Swiss Army knives. He wanted to be in the Swiss Army, but he was rejected. You know why he was rejected? Because he had sweaty feet and varicose veins. It's true. Okay, all right. Fact number 3. Fact number 3. In Star Wars, Yoda, remember, Yoda from Star Wars? Yoda's eyes were modeled after Albert Einstein's eyes. True fact. You don't see that in one of those Who Was books. Fact number 4, okay? Einstein, he didn't like to go shopping, especially for clothes. He hated clothes shopping. So what his wife did was, her name was Elsa, she would take one of his jackets to a clothing store so she could find another one just like it in the same size, and then she'd buy it. So she wouldn't have to drag him shopping with her. Okay. Fact number 5. Okay. Einstein was kind of like the first absent-minded professor. He's kind of like known for being a little flaky. So one day, this probably happened in Princeton, I'm guessing. One day, a man called the university where Einstein was working and asked for his home address. And when the secretary told the caller she couldn't give out that personal information, the man on the phone admitted that he was Einstein himself. He said, "I'm on my way home and I've forgotten where my house is." That's true. Okay. I don't know if I'm getting any laughs over there. Okay. Fact number 6, little known facts about Albert Einstein. Okay. After he fled Europe when the Nazis, started taking over, he came to Princeton, as you know. And do you know what the first thing he did when he arrived in Princeton? First thing he did? First 2 things he did, actually. He bought a newspaper and an ice cream cone. That's the 2 things that he did when he came to Princeton. So these are the kinds of weird facts that I like to dig up for my books. And this is just the first book in the series, Wait, What? I'll tell you just very briefly about the other books in the series. Like the one after that was Muhammad Ali was a chicken. And I'll tell you one fact about Muhammad Ali, okay? He was afraid of flying. So when he went to the Olympics in Rome in 1960, he had to be talked into getting on the plane. But before he got on the plane, he bought himself a parachute and he sat on the plane wearing the parachute the whole flight to Rome. True story. That's Muhammad Ali was a chicken. Teddy Roosevelt was a moose. Yeah, Roosevelt. A lot of people know that he loved animals. Okay, he was a big animal lover. But you probably don't know that if you went over to his house when he was a kid, You might find a snake in a water pitcher, or a dead mouse in the icebox, or he'd take off his hat and a bunch of frogs would jump out. And once he was at a market and somebody was selling dead seals, so he bought one. Okay, that's my fact from Teddy Roosevelt was a moose. Moving along to Amelia Earhart is on the moon. Yeah, everybody knows the tragic story of Amelia Earhart trying to fly around the world and disappeared, actually. But you probably don't know that before she was a famous flyer, she actually worked as a photographer's assistant. And you know what she liked taking pictures of? Garbage cans. Garbage cans. Yes, it's true. It must be true. It's in the book, right? Okay. And then came Ruth Bader Ginsburg couldn't drive. And it was titled that because she actually flunked her driving test 5 times before she passed. But the interesting thing to me is her name wasn't even Ruth. Okay. Her name was Joan. Why is she Ruth Bader Ginsburg? Because when she went to kindergarten as a child, her teacher pointed out to Joan's mother that there were already 3 girls in the class named Ruth. Named Joan, I'm sorry. So her mother suggested, well, what if you just called her by her middle name, Ruth? So that's how she became Ruth Bader Ginsburg for the rest of her life. Okay. Okay. And so that's all the ones I have. The next one coming out is going to be called Lucille Ball Had No Eyebrows. And it's true. Lucille Ball, the famous TV comedian, when she went to Hollywood to become a movie star in the 1940s, it was fashionable at the time for women to shave off their eyebrows and then draw like a little line for an eyebrow with an eyebrow pencil. So she shaved off her eyebrows. And for most people, the eyebrows would grow back in some time. Well, with hers, they never grew back. So for the rest of her life, she had no eyebrows. So that's why it's called Lucille Ball had no eyebrows. And finally, the last book in the series that I know of right now is going to be The Beatles Couldn't Read Music. And that one is a labor of love for me because I'm a true Beatles fanatic. So anyway, that is the whole of the Wait What series. But today, today we celebrate Albert Einstein, okay, not all those other people. And I was thinking about it, okay, and I was thinking, if Einstein was alive today, I'm not even sure he would be a physicist or a scientist at all. You know what I think he would have become? I think he would have become a stand-up comedian. That's what I think. Okay, I could just imagine him in a comedy club, and I think his act. I could just imagine what his act would be like. Okay, I think it would go something like this. Okay, let's keep it going for our next comic. He came up with the theory of relativity, but he looks like a circus clown. So put your hands together for Al Einstein. Let's hear it for him. All right. Okay, I'll get him out here. Al's going to be right out. Hang on 1 second. Okay. He'll be right there. He's coming. I got to get him. Al, are you here? Yeah, I'm coming. Here, I'm coming. Hang on a second. Here he is. Okay. All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you very much. Happy Pi Day, you all. When do I get my pie? Any physicists out there? Hey, it's great to be back in Princeton. I haven't been here since I died in 1955. Has anything changed since then? Speaking of dying, it's been pretty tough ever since that doctor removed my brain and, put it in a cookie jar. He spent 40 years examining my brain. And you know what he found? Nothing. So I got the last laugh on him. That doctor also went on a road trip to California with my brain in a Tupperware container inside a duffel bag. It's true. You got to read the book. Not only that, but after he removed my brain, he also took my eyeballs. It's true. He removed my eyeballs. And you know what he did with them? He gave them to my eye doctor as a present. Who does that? Like body parts make good gifts. Happy birthday. Here's a spleen. That just doesn't happen. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't want to be alive today anyway. What with the COVID and the Putin and the climate change. If I was alive today, I'd be such a nerd. All the other physicists would be stuffing me in lockers, and stealing my lunch money. But you know what? I wouldn't care. I'd have plenty of dough if I was alive today. You know how much they paid me when I worked at the Institute for Advanced Studies? $15,000 a year. Are you kidding me? Do they know how much it costs to live in Princeton? Today, I'd be pulling down Aaron Judge money. Hey, before I go any further, I want to give a shout out to Quincy Jones. Pi Day is his birthday too. He's going to be 90 on Tuesday. That dude is almost as old as I am. People are constantly asking me to explain my theory of relativity. This guy asked me, Professor Einstein, how would gravity be changed if you were trapped in an infinitely moving elevator, falling elevator? And you know what I said to him? I said, how the heck should I know? Why don't you get into an infinitely falling elevator and find out for yourself? Leave me alone. Sometimes, I'll tell you, seriously, sometimes I wish I never came up with the theory of relativity anyway. Last year, my twin sister, she blasted off in a spaceship at the speed of light while I stayed home. And you know what? When she came back, she was a year younger than me. I hate when that happens. Time travel, right? But seriously, I don't even have a twin sister. But traveling is always hard. The other day I was in a plane traveling alongside a beam of photons at the speed of light, and all they gave me was a bag of peanuts. I shouldn't complain. The best part about being dead for 60 years is that I don't have to eat airline food anymore. I know you're out there. I can hear you doing thought experiments. I don't want to brag, but I won the Nobel Prize in 1921. Yeah, that's a prize they give out to people who don't have bells. See, that's why they call it the Nobel Prize. Get it? Yeah, I stole that joke from the My Weird School series by some guy named Dan Gutman. That guy's a genius. You know what? I don't care about the Nobel Prize anyway. You want to know what my biggest honor was? I'll tell you my biggest honor. I was on the cover of Sgt. Pepper. That's right. That's me. Now that was impressive. But seriously, everybody knows about my theory of relativity, but most people don't know. I got 50 patents for real inventions in my lifetime. It's true. In 1936, I got a patent for an expandable suit jacket. It's true, yeah. It had 2 sets of buttons, so that if you gained weight, you could switch to the buttons on the outside. So like the universe is expanding, and so are my pants. I really got to cut back on pie. Yeah, there have been some great inventions since I died, like email. They didn't have email when I was around. You had to write a paper letter, and you should never write paper letters. Believe me, it just gets you into trouble. Like one time I wrote a letter to FDR, and the next thing I knew, we leveled Hiroshima and they were calling me the father of the atomic bomb. Too soon? Hey, I'm a pacifist. Oh man, I feel like I'm dying all over again up here. I can't believe I won. I was a Nobel Prize winner, and now I'm telling dad jokes at the Princeton Library. Hey, do you know what the C in E equals MC? Wait a minute. Do you know what the C in E equals MC squared stands for? Chocolate. That's a joke. Where's my pie? Speaking of jokes, take my wife, Maleva. Please, I mean it. Take her. She's a pain in the neck. Man, I really miss living in Princeton. I mean, I miss living in general. Being dead is such a bummer. I was window shopping and I saw my picture on posters and coffee mugs and socks and bobbleheads. Think about it. When I was alive, I was on the cover of Time magazine 5 times. And they named me Person of the Century. And now you can't even find Time magazine, but you can walk down Nassau Street and buy underwear with my face on it. I guess that's what I get for marrying my cousin. Yeah, Princeton is a great town, better than Munich, I'll tell you that much, where I grew up. I'll say one thing, my little sister Maja, she was a vegetarian, you know, but she loved hot dogs. So what I did was I told her that hot dogs were vegetables and she bought it. True story. And they say I was a dope. One time I threw a bowling ball at her head. It's true. Don't believe me? It's in the book. It's in the book. Well, I'm running out of time. Or is it space? Or is it the space-time continuum? Anyway, speaking of last words, you know, nobody knows what my last words were before I died. It's true. That's because I said them in German, and the nurse who was taking care of me didn't speak German, so she didn't know what I said. So before I leave you today, I'm going to reveal to you what I said just before I died, okay? In English, all right? You ready? My last words were, when do I get my pie? I want my pie. Forget about it. Well, that's my time, you guys. You've been a wonderful audience. Don't forget to tip your waitstaff, and don't forget to move your clocks ahead tonight. Happy Pie Day, everyone. I'll get Dan back. Oh, thanks, Al. That was great. that was terrific. So you've all been very patient listening to me talk about Albert Einstein, and I'll bet some of you have some questions you want to ask about my book, books, reading, writing, whatever. So if anybody in the audience at Princeton or anybody online has a question, I'll get to as many as I can before they kick us all out of here. So who wants to start things off? I'll answer anything.
Okay, so
I see everybody's jumping up to ask questions.
if you're here in person, you can go on at the microphone, but Dan, we do have one from online. This is Janie in the audience here. And they want, Megan Summers wants to know, why did you choose to write a book about Albert Einstein first for the whole series? Why Albert?
That's a good question. My editor and I sat down when we started the series, and we started with just 4 books. And we wanted to get like a real cross section of different kinds of famous people. That was one thing, of course, you know. The other thing was that I had to find people who there's a lot written about, and I could find a lot of funny stories to tell. And that's not always the case. Like if you want to write about someone like, say, Harriet Tubman, well, she'd be a great subject, but I don't think she was a real laugh riot, if you know what I mean. So we picked Einstein because he was a very funny guy. World famous, everybody around the world would know him. The book would sell outside the United States as well as, you know, here. And he's one of my heroes too. So those are all the reasons why we chose Einstein to be the first book in the series. Great question.
Okay, we have somebody here in the room that wants to go up to the microphone. You don't have to be shy.
Nobody wants to know how much money I make or anything like that?
Okay, here, oops, I think we have somebody coming up.
My name is Monica, and I wanted to know what got you into writing books?
What got me into writing books? That's a great question. You know, I never took a writing class in my life, okay? I went to college in New Jersey. I didn't go to Princeton. I went to Rutgers University, and I did not study writing. I studied psychology, and I even went to graduate school for 2 years studying psychology. And then I decided that I didn't want to be a psychologist, and I didn't know what to do with myself. And I just thought, what do I like to do? And I always enjoyed writing letters to my friends. Writing always just seemed to come naturally to me. So I decided that I was going to move to New York City and become a starving writer. And that's what I did for a long time. I was writing for grownups very unsuccessfully. And it wasn't until my kids were born that I said, I was reading a lot of children's books with my son for the first time since I was a kid. And I thought, let's try writing for kids. And as soon as I started writing for kids, I felt, this is what I'm good at. This is what I should have been doing all along. So I switched to writing for kids, and I've been doing it ever since then. So that's the story of how I got started.
We have a lot of questions online, so that's people in the in-person audience start thinking as well. We have Matthew Hobie, who wants to know how many books you've written in total, because he's been a fan of yours since he was little. He's 25 years old now, and he is inspired by you, and he's written 2 joke books of his own because of you.
Congratulations to Matthew. Well, I've been doing this for a long time, obviously, and I've written 175 books now. 175, of which like 93 of them are in the My Weird School series, which is the most successful thing I've ever done. But I also write for older kids as well.
Okay, well, speaking of My Weird School, Cornell online here wants to know, who is your favorite Weird School character?
My favorite My Weird School character is the principal, Mr. Klutz. Because he's a big overgrown kid like I am. And sadly, I recently got rid of Principal Klutz. He retired and he was replaced by a new principal, Mrs. Stoker, who is a joker. So if you keep reading the books, you'll find out what happened to Mr. Klutz. And by the way, with My Weird School, we just started a new series. It just started 2 weeks ago. It's now called My Weird-tastic School. And this is the first book in the series. Miss Banks pulls lots of pranks. And the reason why I called it My Weird-tastic School is I didn't have a title for the series. And then I was doing a Zoom with a school in New Jersey somewhere. And some kid named Sam Brazzini stands up and says, you should call it My Weird-tastic School. And I said, you're a genius. So I dedicated the book to that kid. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Anybody else here in the room want to come up to the microphone? This is your one and only chance here now to get personal with our author.
Don't be shy.
I see some kids here, but they're being shy. Well, we have other questions online. So Lily Gerber wants to know, what is your favorite book that you wrote?
Well, thanks for asking, Lily. And by the way, Lily, you should read Miss Lily is Silly. But my favorite of all my books is one that you probably never heard of because it wasn't very successful. And that's often the case. An author's favorite books are the ones that don't sell. But my favorite of all my books is called Johnny Hangtime. And it's a story about a kid who is a Hollywood stuntman. And he's always jumping out of windows and having himself set on fire. It's really exciting. And I think this is my best book, but it was not a successful book. So I hope people will look for it because I'm really proud of it.
Okay. And we have from Wolfgang, who is 7 years old. He wants to know, how long did it take you to write the book? And he's probably talking about the Albert Einstein book, but in general, how long does it take you maybe to write a book?
That's a good question, Wolfgang.
Take longer?
The answer is that it really depends on the book. Like, for instance, I write for little kids too, for like kindergarten age, like Rappy the Raptor. He's a rapping raptor who raps. And this is just a picture book. It's 32 pages long, and I probably spent a couple of weeks writing it. The My Weird School books, they take about a month to write, which is very fast because I don't have to do any research at all for these guys. For those of you who are familiar with my baseball card adventures, like Babe and Me, Roberto and Me, Jackie and Me, and so on, these books involve some research, and I probably spend about 6 months working on them. And some of my books for older kids, like some of you have read maybe Houdini and Me, which came out recently, or some of the kids in the front row might be familiar with my series called The Genius Files. It's about these 2 kids who travel across country with their parents over summer vacation while these bad guys are chasing them the whole time. And these books, there's 5 of them. They're like 300 pages long, and they involved a tremendous amount of research. So I spent probably about a year writing each of these books. So that's the hardest thing I ever had to write. And so the answer to the question is, it really depends on the book. And I will say that the Wait What books, like the Einstein book, involve a lot of research, obviously. I will read like every book written about these guys. For Einstein, I read probably 4 different adult biographies, and I would just pluck out the most interesting facts that I thought would fit into my book. So they involve a lot of time too. Good questions, you guys.
Okay, and so we have Ayana asking, what made you write the weird school books?
Yeah, I was telling some of the kids before when we first started, what inspired my weird school, which was my daughter Emma. These are my 2 kids, my son Sam and my daughter Emma, and they don't look like this anymore. This was 20 years ago. Now they look like this. Okay, but when Emma was in 2nd grade, she was reading Junie B. Jones, and some of you may remember Junie B. Jones. And I thought there should be something like Junie B. Jones told by a boy. So that's what inspired the whole My Weird School series. And it started with that one book, Miss Daisy is Crazy. And now I've done 93 of them. So that's the most successful thing I've ever done.
Okay. Do we have any more questions from the audience?
I like that. Somebody wrote a funny joke. They said, do you know what you call an alligator wearing a vest? An investigator. We didn't even ask for jokes.
I think that's Matthew, who was writing his own joke books. I think he wants to show you his, yeah, that was the same guy. Well, Matthew, you are a very funny guy. Okay. And, Jeffrey Seagrass wants to know how much money you make for every book.
Here's the way it works. Authors are teachers and librarians always tell the students, don't ask him how much money he makes, or don't ask him how old he is, or any of those things. Well, I'll answer both those questions. Okay, I'm 67 for one thing. And as far as money goes, here's the way it works. Let's say, what's the big bookstore in Princeton?
Labyrinth Books and Shazam's, 2 of them. Shazam's
Okay.
and Labyrinth.
Let's say you go into Shazam's. I don't even know if they're selling my book, but let's say they do. Okay. And let's say it costs $10. It doesn't actually. It only costs $6.95. But let's say it costs $10. And you go into the bookstore and you buy the book for $10. How much, with the show of your fingers, okay, how much do you think the author gets to keep? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. What do you think? I'm looking for fingers. I see some kids holding up their hands in the front row, but it's hard for me to see their fingers.
Yeah, 4, 3, 5.
Okay. All right.
7. There's a 7.
7. Here's the way it works. When you go into a bookstore and you spend $10 on a book, the author gets about $1.
Yes.
Yeah. And when you buy like a cheap paperback for a couple of bucks, like through the Scholastic Book Club or something like that, the author gets as little as, you ready for this? 6 cents per book. So you really have to sell a lot of books to make a lot of money, which is why you should all go and buy my book. Albert Einstein was a dope. Okay, anybody else?
You need to get your 6 cents in, right?
That's right.
Okay, so we have one really interesting question here is and it's from an anonymous attendee, but they want to know, how was your school experience, your own school experience compared to Albert's school experience? So you were telling us that he didn't do very well in school, right?
Yeah, he didn't like school. It's interesting. In my series, My Weird School, they're narrated by this little boy, AJ, who's kind of like an obnoxious little boy who says he hates school all the time. And he also says that he hates this girl, Andrea, but if you've read a bunch of the books, you know that AJ and Andrea are in love, 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 love. Anyway, they'll probably grow up and get married someday. But your question was, what was your question again? I forgot.
How was your experience compared to Albert's?
Oh, yeah. I was actually more like Andrea. I was a good student in school. I liked school and I got A's and B's, but I didn't grow up to win a Nobel Prize or get on the cover of Time magazine, unfortunately.
Okay, let's see. We're gonna be doing a drawing for the free books in just a minute.
Oh,
I think this is a good question to end with. Somebody wants to know online, another anonymous person, but who is your favorite author? So who do you go to read?
my favorite author? Yeah, I have a favorite author, and he's also a genius, I believe, much like Einstein. I've never met him, actually, but his name is Brian Selznick. And some of you may be familiar with his books like The Invention of Hugo Cabret, which is fantastic. Anybody in the audience at home at Princeton, did anybody read that book? Yeah,
Yeah.
the kid with the Adidas t-shirt, sweatshirts. Yes. Yeah, fantastic book. He's really amazing. And I encourage everybody to read that book. That's my favorite children's book, and he's my favorite children's book author.
Okay, so Nora's gonna turn the camera towards me, and we're gonna do a raffle drawing. There's two separate raffle drawings, one for those who are online and one for here in the room. So I'm gonna ask, well, I'll ask Mr. Adidas to come over here and choose a coupon from my basket. If you're online, I went through and wrote your name on a ticket for everybody who registered. Now, some people might not have shown up, so you have to be in it to win it. So if you left early, you might have to drop your name. So give me one name.
Eve F.
Eve, are you online? Eve F, and that's Eve Feldman. Yes, I see you online. So Eve, I'm going to email you after this event and get your mailing address, and Dan is going to send you the book directly. Okay, and let's see, let's have somebody else come up.
I'm going to sign them too.
And he's going to sign them. Okay, here we go. So choose another name from the basket.
Gail J.
Gail J. Let me see. Gail, are you on here? Anybody spotting it? Can you spot Eva? I can search and see. You got to be in it to win it here. If Gail's not here, we'll choose again. No, Gail's not here. Sorry, Gail. Next. Here, choose another one for me, please.
You got to show up.
Niddy M.
Nitty. We see Nitty on here. I saw some people leaving a little bit earlier. They're losing out. Okay, let's see. This could take a while. Let's try this one more time. We got lucky the first time.
Courtney G.
Courtney, C-O-U-R-T. Courtney, are you on here? I thought I saw you.
Courtney G? Yes.
Yeah, we got Courtney.
I see
Okay,
Courtney on the screen.
Okay, so we got Courtney and Eve for our online winners. Now, for those of you in the room. Can I have you come up and choose a ticket? You're gonna have to look at your tickets and look at the numbers. Okay, so choose a ticket. Okay, you want me to read it? You want to read it? Okay, so if you are 907119, you have won a book. 119. Yay, we got a winner for that. Then you're gonna have to come give me your name and mailing address. Don't leave room, because I'm gonna have to send that to Mr. Gutman for you. Okay, and so who won the book? So you choose the next winner.
We mixed up our tickets.
Can you mix up your tickets? Are you?
Okay.
Well,
Can you choose?
yeah, you can choose. We got somebody up here choosing. You guys are gonna have to figure it out between you. Okay, and the next winner is 907127. 127. Anybody have 127? 127. Look at your numbers.
Nope.
Okay, we have an adult winner in the room. Wonderful. Okay, so Dan, we want to thank you for coming on and sharing such a great program with everybody. Oh, and I forgot, for somebody in the room, we have a t-shirt. Oh, want to swing the camera around there? We can do that. Or Eve can come in front and show us a little bit. So the Historical Society of Princeton has donated a t-shirt. What's it say on the t-shirt, Eve?
It is the Albert Einstein sitting on his front porch with fuzzy slippers.
Okay, so can we have someone come draw a ticket out for me again? Here we go. And hopefully you're a small person. It's a small shirt, or you know a small person.
Boy, that's me.
No, that's you?
Yeah.
Okay.
You picked yourself?
Never mind. There we go.
What are the chances?
Kind of funny. Okay.
Can I say one thing before we wrap it up?
Yeah.
A couple things. I wanted to say that I really appreciate those of you who came to the library and those of you who came to the Zoom as well, for being here and for reading my books and share, and all the grown-ups there who shared them with your kids or your students, whatever. And I wanted to thank Eve and Janie for arranging this whole thing. I wanted to say it's a new year, and I hope you guys are going to read lots of books this year, but especially mine. And again, watch out for that giant banana. It could be at the library any second. Oh no, it's the giant banana. Help, it's attacking. Help, run for your lives. Help, get out of the library quick.
Thank you, Dan. You're welcome to come back and Zoom with us anytime. We have loved this, every minute of it. Thank you so much. And let's all say happy birthday to Albert and happy Pi Day.
Happy Pi Day, everyone.
Okay, this is the awkward part. We're gonna leave and you're gonna disappear. Okay,
Okay.
goodbye, everybody.
Bye.